Thank you for tuning into the Penn City Current Pregame Show on Bloodhound Sports. I'm Chuck Vandenberg, and the following is an interview with Fort Madison's head football coach Derek Doherty. We'll start with a recap of last Friday's game and then preview tonight's matchup. Okay, so we're here with Fort Madison coach Derek Doherty on the Penn City Current Pregame, and there's the bell to start the program. Ding, ding, right? So you had a coming off a great homecoming week. You certainly have the rough side of the mountain coming out, but let's talk about. We usually go into the opponent first. So let's talk about these Hounds a little bit. I mean, 6-0 for the first time in 55 years. I mean, that's just incredible. Depending on what poll you're looking at, you have different rankings. We won't go there. But all that gets, in your words, gets flushed this week. You're 0-0 again. And you have a very good, I would say, Liberty team coming in that the record just doesn't show how good they are. But we'll get into that. It's senior night, so I know you got 11 seniors on this team. They've all been a major factor and had a major impact on their team's success. Talk about that group of kids, and I've got them all listed here. And take time. Talk about how important those kids have been to this program, and especially this being your third year, you've known these kids your whole life. Talk to us about that group of kids.
Yeah, it's been fun. These guys, it's cool seeing their parents posting pictures of them in Pee Wee football. They've been together for a long time, and that's kind of what it takes for success is for groups of kids to stick together. In the past, we've had teams that had really good athletes, and then a couple of them move away, a couple of them decide not to play football, and it was down to the few. But this group stayed together for the most part, and they're great kids. They're obviously really great athletes as well. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to say that as good of athletes as they are, they're even better kids, and we love that about them. So their leadership skills, the things that a lot of the community doesn't see, these guys are always leading in volunteer hours. I mean, they get stuff done for our community and for people who ask. They're at the Special Kids Rodeo helping out, then they turn around and they're out there for youth football and volunteering their time on Mondays and Wednesdays and Sundays and coaching kids and building relationships. And they are phenomenal young men.
I saw some pictures, and I don't know if it was from Tara and Tony Johnson or whatever, but somebody shot pictures of these football players at the elementary school. What was that? Was that just like a homecoming tradition, or maybe because the kids just were following them around like they were celebrities? I mean, it was really fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. So they take the kids over and they do assemblies and stuff, and I love how good our kids are with the younger kids. And yeah, there's pictures of Tate. That our kids are bent over at their level talking to them. I mean, they love it. And they love knowing that they have influence and using that influence in a great way. And these kids turn around, they come to our games on Friday nights, and I've seen parents posting pictures of their kids standing next to banners of our seniors and then getting pictures with our kids. And my nephew's no exception. I mean, my sister's boy is absolutely in love with Landis and Kane. They're neighbors, and he made a sign that they have out in their front yard out in Denmark that says Landis and Kane fans live here. Then he turns around and he gets to wear Tate Johnson's helmet in a picture, and I mean, just is the most excited boy in the entire world at that moment, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great for the program. Yes. Now you have kids that want to wear these jerseys. You're back, and I'm on the sidelines for the game, but you can see as you walk up the kids throwing the ball around and in the end zones and behind where the band is, the kids are just playing, literally waiting for their turn.
Yeah.
I mean, you just see that, and so in a town of our size, and I don't really consider Fort Madison a big town.
Right.
I mean, we play 4A football, but last year we played 3A football. So
right.
To see these kids looking, at these guys like, I'm going to get there, I'm going to be there. It's got to be good for the program.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, Bloodhound football has been very important to me for my entire life. And I remember my pregame routine when I was a kid was we had a field. We'd all go over there and play football as neighborhood kids. And I knew who the guys were. Quarterback, Jason Crooks. That's who I am tonight. And playing quarterback. And then people would be yelling, hey, it's time to go to the game. We'd all walk over to the game and we'd watch. And that was the best childhood I can think of, and it excites me knowing that a lot of that same stuff is going on. We have kids at the games, and they're watching, they know who our guys are, and they're excited for our guys. And it's not about wins and losses, and we talk to our guys about that. Who was the seniors when you guys were in elementary school? Most of our seniors right now can name off those kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what was their record? They don't know. The record is what it is. It's the influence that they're having on them, and that's what excites me.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just me, but I was watching the Patriots game. The Patriots. Does Landis Williams look like Mac Jones, or is it just me? I mean, I was like, that guy looks just like Landis Williams.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So who knows what the future holds, right?
That's right.
So So I mean, great production from these seniors. Obviously, they've been part of building this laying the bricks, as you like to say. So it'll be an exciting night to watch those guys get a moment of their own to shine. But let's talk about the X's and O's. Great game Friday. You guys were able to move the ball inside and out, up and down, just basically anywhere you wanted to go after you got things going in that first quarter. McGowan had 196 yards in the TD. Teague Smith had a real... I walked by Ryan Smith and said that last run was nuclear because he, at one point, had 3 or 4 guys on him just grinding out another yard. And the 38 yards may not seem like a lot, but those were hard yards from him. Landis had his 41 yards and a touchdown. Was last week an example of you guys taking advantage of what the defense was giving you, or was that a focus to try to get as much offense going on different sides, passing, running, that kind of thing. Get a nice mix in there.
Sure. Yeah. The word that comes to mind when I think of last week is growth, and I mean that schematically. I mean that mentally, and physically. Obviously, I mean you just talked about Teague Smith carrying guys. I mean he's a strong kid. He works out in the weight room nonstop, lives the right way, does the right things, and we have other guys that are doing those same things. And so there's growth physically, mental growth. Clinton brought it, and they had some things that they did really well, and we knew that they were going to do those things well, and we would have to nullify them, and they scored. And I think that old Fort Madison would have been like, oh no. Our kids were like excited about, hey, let's go back out and score and take the lead. I mean, it just shows their competitiveness. It shows the growth mentally, that they weren't scared. They weren't thinking negatively. It was, all right, let's go. We know we got a job to do. Schematically, you got Jacob McGowan making some great reads and cuts. And if I would have known he was 4 yards away from 200, he would have had another carry or two. And we talked to him too, just maybe a little bit of motivation. We're like, hey, could you have gotten those 4 yards on a better cut somewhere? And he smiles and he knows that we're going to coach him hard and we're demanding of him. And there's a few cuts that we pointed out. Is he, and he's excited about working on those things. That's what we love about him.
Yeah, big smile on his face. After
yeah.
He had a great time.
Rightfully so. I mean, the kid deserves it. He's a workhorse. We're proud of him. Landis doing Landis things. Again, growth in the schematics. There's a couple times that he came over and said some things, and that's what we love about our guys. It's not necessarily like, hey, I'm open, throw me the ball. It's, hey, when we do this, they do that. And again, just understanding the game. And we have Abram Lawrence, who goes in when we need him, and he comes off, and he's like another coach. I mean, he's telling us, hey, we're seeing some things. This is what's going on, and growth.
Mm-hmm. I've read a couple quotes, and I've talked to Mateo Lozano a little bit. He talks about, the success of the line plays because they get lower, they're fundamentally strong, and they're quicker. Talk about that group, because one of Jacob McGowan's comments Friday after the game was he was just following blocks. People were just opening holes. So, you've retooled that this year, and we've talked about that a little bit. But how did that present itself Friday?
Shout out Josh Weichert. Phenomenal coach, demands of his kids. They obviously love him and they listen to him. And when we're disciplined up front, I guess on paper we're undersized a lot, and we've talked about that, and that's fine. I know that they're doing the right things in the weight room, and that gives you a chance, especially when you're undersized. Bigger isn't always better, and they move really, really well. And Mateo he's a big guy, but you should see him on our speed days. I mean, he moves extremely well, and that's credit again to the work that he puts in. You can have the best agility and speed work program in the world, but the kids have to do it. So. I like his comments there, and when we are disciplined up front, we definitely give ourselves a chance to do some great things.
And we had talked a couple weeks ago about Coach Smith and his TNT mentality, and now I'm hearing that on the sidelines, and he barks at Ike Thatcher. I mean, it's just like, let's go, Ike, let's go, Ike, let's go, Ike. And I think that on the defensive side of things. I think Daniel hears that conversation, he hears that TNT yell, he hears all that stuff, and that's ingrained in them. So you're getting just as much success out of that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Smith is the perfect personality for a defensive line coach. That's what we love about him. He's physical. He's barking at those guys, as you say, and he gets them fired up, and it's fun to watch them in tough situations just get tough. And again, reflection of their defensive line coach, I think, and their offensive line coach, Coach Weichert and Coach Smith work together a lot, and peanut butter and jelly there. Coach Smith's the fired up, and don't get me wrong, Coach Weichert gets fired up.
Oh, sure.
Oh boy,
we've heard some of that.
Yeah, but kind of different personalities, and they both do a fantastic job of getting through to their athletes.
Has he gotten his yellow flag yet, Coach Weichert?
No,
he gets one a year and sticks it in his pocket.
Yep, he still gets his one. He says.
I think Ryan might have taken his. But
yeah.
So how big? Last week, I turned around when I got to the game. I turned around, packed. And it was the first time in 3 years I've seen it packed. I mean, there wasn't a spot left on that. How big is the 12th man going to be with this team coming in here that's given Clear Creek a man all they wanted, and really, they held North Scott scoreless for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
They had a bad second quarter, but other than that, they played football with that number 1 team in the state. How big is the 12th man going to be this week?
Yeah, it's huge. The support, our kids knowing that, hey, man, people have our backs. That's what they talk a lot about in our team meetings when we're discussing the ins and outs of the program, and they're like, man, this community has our back, and there's a little bit of, we don't want to let them down, and we talk to them about that, like, hey, you just got to go be you. You're not going to let them down, and at the end of the day, you got to go out and execute and do your job. They're going to do their job and be in the stands and out at Baxter Plex watching and all of the great things that our community's doing, and we're excited about that, and it does absolutely make a difference.
As you look at the next, and I know we don't want to go too far down the road here, but you've got one more game on the road basically, and then you've got this game here, and then you've got Brunton, which again should be a home game. We should have 1,000 people, 1,500 people up there. They have to play a more important role as the season winds down.
Yeah. Our student section's awesome. I mean, shout out to them, and I don't get to enjoy all of it. Inside of the 4 quarters of football, we're us coaches, we're looking down the scope, and so afterwards, I'm usually asked Kristen, hey, how was the crowd, and she was super excited about it as well, and don't really have time to stop and enjoy those things. Just part of the job, but I heard that the environment was awesome, and
great.
I did catch the fireworks. That adds to it. That's fun. But at the end of the day, our job is to play the game of football, and that's what we're focused on. That's what I love about this group is that they understand their role and their job, and are they excited about the crowd? Sure, but they understand that crowds don't win football games. They can help influence certain situations, for sure, but at the end of the day, they got to go out and execute, and they did a great job all week of that. Homecoming week, I knew that we had a group of guys that we could trust, and football is a priority to them, and they, again, live the right way and make the right choices, and we were very, very happy with them.
Good. Let's talk about Liberty a little bit. On paper, everybody's throwing that, and I know you throw records out on Friday, but 1-5. been in pretty much every football game they've played, and they play one of the toughest. That's one of the downsides of being in those metro areas is, yeah, you get a lot of talent, but you also go up against a lot of talent, and this squad's gone up against a lot of talent. But when you look at, there's a few things I see when didn't get a chance to watch any film of them, but when you look at the numbers, they've thrown to a dozen different receivers. They've got the Newell Willis, or Willis Newell kid,
Yep.
who's got, probably going to rush for 1,000 yards this year.
Yep.
So really you've seen some good running backs, but you've been able to neutralize them. Here comes another kid that's pretty dynamic, that's turned out 600 and some yards against a pretty tough defense. So what do you see in that team? What's been the focus this week? You guys got to kind of watch everything that's happening. He can go to just about anybody, on the offense. He can throw a ball to him. Certainly got a quarterback that's mobile, that's not afraid to, take the option and run with it. What are you seeing with them?
Yeah, a little Belichick here, do your job. And it's kind of really as simple as it is. We've game planned, and we feel like we have another good game plan ready, and we just have to execute it. And obviously they have a good game plan too, and they're going to try to execute theirs. That's the game. Who can do it better for 4 quarters? And they have a great coaching staff. Coach Harris is very familiar with us, and I have the utmost respect for him and everything that he's done. I mean, he was really kicking some butt at Washington, and then obviously saw something in Iowa City Liberty that he enjoyed and pursued the job and ended up getting it. And he's an alum from Washington, so it had to have been really enticing,
Sure.
I'm sure, to pull him from his roots. And he, again, was doing a fantastic job there. And, no doubt he's doing a fantastic job at Liberty already. And they've been through the gauntlet. I mean, you start looking at statistics, and hey, they've gone up against the number 1 defense in the state right now as far as yards per game and things like that. And they've faced the who's who, and so when they come down to little old Fort Madison, they're not going to be scared. They've been in the Lion's Den, and we've got to play fast, physical Fort Madison football, and we got to do it for 4 quarters from whistle to whistle.
When you look at at the X's and O's and what threats they present offensively, it takes me back to a conversation I had with Jason Crooks after the game Friday, and he said, first quarter we struggled a little bit. We didn't make too many adjustments, but we did tell them, and this was, to me, was eye opening. He said, just because they're going in motion doesn't mean we got to follow them.
Right.
And you don't see that very often. Even if you look at pro football, when somebody goes in motion, somebody spies that person and chases them down, and to say, you know what, you guys have been doing this for years. You know what to do.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to chase that guy. They're trying to pull us out of a set.
Yeah.
Just do your job, right? So that has to come into play this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a offensive-minded guy myself, sometimes it's just eye candy, and you get guys moving around with motion, and you're checking coverage and stuff, but you're trying to see if you can get guys moving and get them confused. I mean, obviously plans to use motion and things like that, but felt like our guys were a little bit antsy, and some of that's just the beginning of the game and huge crowd and homecoming and this and that, and they, at the end of the day, they're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids who their minds are going 1,000 miles per hour, and we had to just settle them down and say, hey, like, do your job. And they did a great job of that.
There was one play, and we'll wrap this up. There was one play Friday. Tate gets beat on a pass play. Guy got behind him. Tate, instead of saying, oh no, I got beat, turns around, chases that guy down, and strips him of the football.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about doing your job.
Yeah.
Talk about that play and how, because I think at that point, you really felt Clinton go, ugh.
Yeah.
Those plays, that extra effort right there, really kind of took them out of the football game.
Yeah, you said the key word there, and we pointed this out in film. I mean, we had it up there, and it wasn't a butt chewing. Did we lose coverage? Yes. Mm-hmm. Right? $1 million athletes lose coverage sometimes.
Yep.
But check out this kid's effort on making up for his mistake. And we talk about it. If we're going to make a mistake, we're going to make it at 100 miles per hour, and then we're going to try to recover at 100 miles per hour. And yeah, he ran that kid down, which was a fast kid.
Fast kid. Well, you got a fast kid too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Stripped the ball and did take the wind out of their sails a little bit. I mean, and that was a choice that Tate Johnson made. It wasn't a schematic deal. It was him deciding that effort is important and running him down. And we have some drills inside of our practices that, replicate that, I guess, and demand that. But again, it's easy to get beat and go, oh man, but he didn't. And we're so proud of him for that. And I think that just speaks of the competitor that he is and how into our culture and understanding of our culture he is.
Yeah.
And
just
again,
what a pure athlete.
yeah, and he's so influential. And so our kids are seeing that and they're going, okay, if Tate Johnson's going to do that, then we should do it as well.
Every time after the game, I walk by and say, the kids, whoever I see, good game. I could stop and interview Tate Johnson after every football game. And I try to move around a little bit, but that kid has an impact on every single one of your football games, and that's fun to watch. I mean, that's really the fun stuff to watch.
Yeah.
What's this game come down to?
Execution, like all of them. I mean, who's going to execute and our goal is to create damage and that's in all phases of the game. And we preach three sides of the football, and I know that Coach Harris does as well. And it's going to come down to execution of all three phases of the football game.
Not a big play, not a field goal from 40 yards. It's going to be, who knows?
It may be. I mean, it may come down to a Xander Wellman field goal.
Yeah.
And if we're executing on all three phases of the football, we will be prepared for that opportunity. I mean, I know Xander would be excited to be looking down the middle of the goalpost with the game on the line because he's a competitor. And again, I keep saying lives the right way, and he does. He's fully prepared for that moment. If that's what it comes down to, we've seen it come down to a defensive stand. We just have to execute our game plan, and I know our kids are ready. I know that it's going to be full-on effort, so we're excited.
Sounds good. We'll be there Friday. Good luck, and go Hounds.
Go Hounds.
This has been the Penn City Current pregame show on Bloodhound Sports. Please be sure to tune in to next week's game where we will recap tonight's game and preview the next game. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to read about the game in your hyperlocal, super fresh, 24/7 source for news and information, the Penn City Current.